Serious, travelers of lonely roads, explorers of the great outdoors, workers of creepy jobs and late-night shifts. What's your scary story? And why? I inspected vacant houses for banks. Had to document/photo every room, boiler, gas and electric meter. Vacants that sit empty for long stretches get inspected every month. One house I had been to every month for 2 years had an attic that just didn't feel right. No items up there. Just an empty attic with no light source. I would take the photo in the dark, illuminated by only my flashlight. Nothing weird happened for the entire time, but I always took the photo and got out of there as fast as I could, like when you would turn the lights off in the basement as a kid and run up the stairs. I did this job for years. Been in dark basements, alone, in silence, multiple times a day, for years. Last time I did that house, I checked the meter like I always do. Dead. Cobwebs on the dial. I photo the house like I always do. Climb the stairs to the attic. I reach the top and the door is open. Odd. I get to a point in the stairs where I'm not all the way there, but I can see level with the floor. All of a sudden a light goes on. There's a light bulb hanging from the center that was never there, and it just turned on as I reached the top. Across from the open door was a mirror facing directly towards the stairs. I saw myself in the mirror for just enough time to see how startled I was. Then the light turned off. I have never ran that fast out of a house before or since. Every month after that I faked the inspection with old photos. Photoshop the date stamp. Still get goosebumps thinking about it.
Used to work at a movie theater. For closing, there was usually just one person working the concessions and a shift manager, or the actual manager. Cleaning up could be creepy because the concessionist would usually have to clean alone. One night, I was cleaning a theater that had the front few lights out, so you couldn't clearly see one corner. There was someone in the corner. I wouldn't normally mind because some people like to watch the entire credits. They got up and started walking toward the screen, which I thought was odd. The shift manager turned off the music, which was pretty jarring. I turned to see if she was in the booth and she wasn't. I turned back around and the person was gone. I left the theater because I was still pretty creeped out. The shift manager came over. I told her about what happened. We grabbed some heavy wooden brooms, and went to look behind the screen. Nobody there. The only other exit was the emergency exit, and they couldn't have left from there or the emergency warning would have gone off. We stuck together the rest of the night. A year or so later, we found out there was actually a tunnel-type thing that connected 3 of the 4 theaters. The entrance to the tunnel was behind each of the screens. Didn't like to think about who that was or how they might have known about the tunnel.
When me and my sister were teenagers, we were on a road trip with our parents in the mountains of British Columbia, Canada. It was the middle of the night and we pulled over to a rest stop for a break. It was pitch black, no towns anywhere nearby, just trees and mountains. My mom was driving and had reclined her seat for a nap, then decided to get out of the car for a minute. Probably to stretch. She jumped back in the car and said she heard someone. I remember my dad kind of laughing because we were in the middle of nowhere. She turned on the headlights and there was a man standing right in front of the car. Seat still reclined, she started the car and drove off so fast. It was terrifying. No idea why he was there, but we didn't stick around to find out.
I was hiking in the woods of Georgia and I ran into a massive black bear on the trail. He ran off, but I saw him 15 minutes later. He runs off. I see him again. He runs off. I sit down to eat, bear comes back. I throw rocks and he runs off. I keep moving down the trail, run into a hiker coming the other way. He tells me bears are up ahead and wants to camp with me. I tell him bears are behind me and I want to camp with him. In the morning, I hike up the trail for 10 minutes and see 2 bears. Keep hiking, see another bear. Bears everywhere.
I worked afternoons at a grocery store in college. Once when the assistant manager was out for a surgery, I was tasked with closing up the store. We closed at 11 and by the time the head cashier and I closed out the safe, cleaned up and locked the doors, it was 11:45. Middle of February in northern Michigan, so cold as hell. I helped the cashier clear the snow and ice off her car and she left. I started clearing the ice off my car, which was an old clunker and took forever to heat up. Our store was located on a main road but in a small town, so there was no traffic and nobody around. Our store closed like 3 hours after everything else in town. This guy comes walking through the parking lot making a beeline for me. I'm a young, Big guy, so I don't feel threatened. I'm on the passenger side of my car, which has the keys in the ignition warming up, and he walks up on the driver's side. Hey man, any chance I can get a ride? It's awful cold out. He smiled at me and a chill went through me. There was nothing strange in his look or the way he spoke, but something in his smile freaked me out. So I decide I don't want this man in my car and I make up some excuse about needing to pick up a friend and drive them to work. He starts to step around the car with his hand in his coat pocket. I am not a tough guy. I am not at all confrontational. But I did not want this guy near me. So I raise my ice brush, which has the long plastic handle, up and take a step back. I'm not giving you a ride and I don't know what you're trying to pull, but I'd rethink it, pal. Real tough guy talk, eh? He looks surprised and laughs and takes his hand out of his pocket. No reason to get mad, big man. He turns and walks off, stopping at the end of the parking lot to watch me. My big ass hurried into my car and took off. 2 weeks later, a woman who worked at the movie theater 2 blocks down was found stabbed to death in her car. So far as I know, they never found who killed her. I have no proof and it's probably just a coincidence, but I feel like it was that guy the first saw. I've never in my life had a visceral reaction like that to a seemingly harmless person. Something wasn't right with him.
My creepiest experience happened when I was 20 and ended up teaching me a good lesson. I was driving alone on 95 in the Deep South at 1 a.m. when I almost ran out of gas. I took the next exit for a station. The station ended up being 15 or so minutes from the highway. The station had 0 lights, completely in the middle of the woods, and the only person around was the employee. As I was pumping gas, a pickup truck full of some really rough-looking guys piled in the back, swearing drunk, going nuts. It was a scene straight out of Deliverance. I kept my head down and was praying I wouldn't end up being kidnapped. All of a sudden one of the guys shouted, "Boys, look who is next to us." All heads turned to me. The biggest guy then said, "There is a lady present, guys," then proceeded to profusely apologize for cursing in my presence. The rest did the same. Lesson learned: don't judge a book by its cover. Probably the politest guys I have encountered to this day.
I work as a paramedic and went to a mental health call in an apartment block. Police were also on scene with us as it was a very rough area with lots of assaults. We were assessing her and halfway through assessment she went out on the apartment balcony to have a cigarette, and we could hear her talking to her male neighbor on a separate balcony next to hers. She finished her cigarette and came down to the ambulance with us. She was talking to herself a bit and then started responding to herself in the same male voice we could hear when she was out on the balcony. It was utterly convincing.
Driving on the Dalton Highway in Alaska close to the Yukon River by myself late at night. A big black wolf with yellow eyes jumped out on the road and looked right at me. Although it was only a few seconds, it felt like minutes. Felt like it stared straight through me.
Worked at a metal recycling plant years ago. When I was 20, we had this manager who died by getting caught in the conveyor pulley and getting sucked into the belt. At night after he died, several people would say they would see someone walk in from the side door and head up the stairs behind them. Same place I worked, there was a quarry behind where we parked and kids would go there and party, swim, whatever. One night a guy was unloading the rail cars from over there and he sees something hanging in the building. It was a teenager who killed himself over a girl. Police, ambulance, fire showed up. It was nuts.
Riding a mount bike from Hadlock to Port Ludlow in pitch black and being followed by something.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.